This week, as 2022 begins, we celebrate 10 years of Kemi Niko.
10 years since we made the commitment to joining our names, our life and our art practice. We had this intense conviction that we should not only be together after 2 years of being flatmates and friends, but that we should pull all of our resources and time into starting an art practice.
One that would define our lives from here on out.
Our foundational belief, the idea that sparked this union,
Was that everything in our lives should be considered.
just as we consider all elements of an artwork, the medium, the message, the materials, the context,
So should our days be considered, our food, our shelter, and our values. In many ways, it was a reaction to the hard reality of emerging from university. We'd gotten so used to following our own lead
and to considering the minute details of everything.
that the idea of working for anyone else's agenda just seemed insane.
We both felt 100% dedicated to this goal.
That was the easy part.
But the lived experience was filled with hard work, constant questioning from others, financial uncertainty, and bold ideas that we were under-resourced to implement.
That didn't stop us though. If anything, all of these challenges focused our attention more pointedly so that when we were offered key opportunities, we pounced on them with a no room for failure attitude.
Since then, we've made many more commitments. We got married, not as a nod to convention, but as a bold stake of claim to the unconventional life we were going to lead.
Take us seriously, we cried from the Tararua Hills.
We now pronounce you Kemi Niko.
The other major commitment we made was to have children.
That one wasn't so much planned as decreed from the heavens above, but to go through with it,
And to make it through it has been a massive accomplishment.
like everything else we did, we considered this new human an art project.
At the time, we didn't theorise too deeply on it.
We are artists, so everything we create must be art.
It's clear now that the analogy works in a slightly different way than we expected. You see, we always prefer to work with salvaged materials.
Anything new we create is made of something old and contains its own history and character.
Bringing up a child is similar. They come with their own set of qualities, and our job isn't to form them, but to facilitate their new place here on Earth.
So here we are, 10 years wiser.
Or 10 years more tired, depending on the day.
We've been thinking forward a lot lately, so this marker of time is a good excuse to think back, to turn around and see where we've come from.
The pledges we made on the dawn of 2012 are still significant.
In a country that has a tendency to self-depreciate, our pledge to steadfastness and success was bold.
We launched ourselves like a brand new brand of life at the 2013 Wellington Zine Fest to the horror of our peers.
It would be befitting of us to hide in bemusement under the almighty power of cringe, but when we look back at that stall of enthusiasm, we feel joy. We haven't changed much in this decade of time, not really.
We may have more lines and more belly rolls, but we have stronger muscles too.
We now have years of experience built on top of these intentional foundations.
We have a body of work under a single name, the power of which is not to be taken lightly.
We told the world who we are, and then we set out to prove it. The proof is in our body of work, and it's in the minds of all the people that Mahi has connected with.
It continues to surprise us that our unshakable belief in ourselves has been reflected in those around us.
The art institutions have mostly ignored us, but the people have always come through.
Which we take as proof that our work matters and that it functions as intended. Our first works, made of gathered rubbish and installed guerrilla style in public green spaces, aim to facilitate new ways of connecting people to their environment.
A bold assumption.
We have stayed true to that aim through all of our varied projects, and each time we get slightly better at it,
We've always been good at turning our shortcomings into our strengths.
making the most of the resources we do have and faking the rest.
Our creations over this past decade have been eclectic.
We dabbled with a few different disciplines.
We were told in the early days that we need to focus on a key style, but we largely ignored that advice.
It didn't feel right.
We knew we'd get bored.
Funnily enough, it is now that we find ourselves with a distinctive style.
And we could see ourselves making handcrafted multiples for a more stable income.
Among other new things, of course.
Maybe that specialisation was always going to happen in its own time.
Or maybe we've just grown up.
Shelter has been a defining motif, both in our everyday lives and in our projects.
When someone else's livelihood and survival relies on you, you understand your shelter situation in a new way.
Your needs change.
Not really your physical needs, but your values change.
You need more privacy. Too many witnesses can spoil a meltdown.
You need security. Being evicted from the house you birthed your child in would be a serious bummer.
Our solution was to evict ourselves.
Sell or gift all our artworks and homemade furniture to friends or family and go nomadic.
It was a good move. We discovered that we're good at adapting.
and even though we eventually found ourselves with a steady occupation on long-lost family land, we know it can't last.
So we decided to build ourselves a small house on wheels, so that we can let the land choose us later on. It's been a good 10 years, filled with many highs and some lows, both having taught us something useful.
We've learnt a lot about what we really need to thrive, what can be discarded and what can be salvaged.
We've had abundance and we've had scarcity, and we've learned how to make the best of each.
Kemi Niko was founded on the belief that we should consider everything artfully, and we've certainly honed that skill.
When we launched ourselves, we decided to include & Co after our names.
We didn't know who that would be yet, so we said it stood for And Connective.
We knew we'd connect with people and that they would inform our work.
Now we can say we know the many faces of this community. Thank you all so much.